What happens when your childhood friend, the only friend you have, is the one who never wants your happiness and decides to ruin your happiest day? This is the unfortunate story of Victoria. It was the wedding of her best friend Nancy. Victoria, who had been planning with her friend, and she was to be the chief bridesmaid, had other plans. Despite being Nancy's childhood friend, Victoria never truly wants her happiness, and she believes Nancy always takes what is supposed to be for her. Even Benjamin, she has been crushing on, ended up being Nancy's boyfriend, and they were about to get married. This can't happen again. Never. Not after defeating me and winning the best graduating student of the university. I have to put an end to this, Victoria murmured.
And she quickly dialed a number on her cell phone. Good morning, Capon. My name is Victoria. I got your number from an agent. And she speaks in slangs that there's a software to be sold. I will trick her to your place in the next hour if we agree on price, Victoria said. I hope this is not a setup, because your voice doesn't sound like someone who has been in this line of business, Capon asked. But Victoria assured him she wasn't playing any game with him. After they both interrogated for a while, Capon agreed he would pay her $9,000 as soon as the package had been delivered to him. Hey babe, it's your big day. Are you awake? Victoria asked Nancy on the phone. Of course, I've been awake since 5 a.m. I'm trying to put some things in order and get prepared for my man.
I am jealous. Getting married to a man like Benjamin is something to be really happy for. You know, I am still single since men like Benjamin refused to come for me. Stop it, Victoria. You deserve the best man. Just believe in time and season. Remember, I wasn't in any relationship for 5 years before I finally met Benjamin. I even thought something was wrong with me. But here I am today. On your day, I will also serve as your chief bridesmaid, event manager, and on everything else. And I will ensure you are happy because you've done so much for me that I never asked for. They both laughed, and Victoria promised to do more to make her friend's wedding a memorable one for her. But babe, I am a bit worried. The tailor haven't yet delivered the Ankara wedding gown to me, and that's what I want to use on my wedding. I am an African, and I want to dress like one on my wedding day. You know you were the one who introduced the tailor to me, so try to call her right away for her to deliver the wedding gown on time, Nancy said. That's why I even called. I am coming to your place. I have ordered an Uber. He will take us to the tailor shop. I've spoken with the tailor already. She has apologized for the delay, but we need to go together to the tailor shop for you to test and make any necessary adjustments. We don't have much time, so prepared, I'm on my way coming to your house, Victoria said. Thank you, babe. I am waiting for you. As Victoria ended the call, he immediately called Capon, and within a few minutes, Capon quickly drove to Victoria's house as a taxi driver, and they drove together to Nancy's house, who was already waiting for them. As Nancy saw Victoria in the car, she walked towards her and she entered the car, and they went straight to the tailor's shop, and when they arrived there, Nancy collected the gown and wore it. Victoria convinced her not to pull off the wedding gown because the time has gone late since it's for the traditional wedding. Victoria told her she should use the other dress for the dinner party in the evening. And they left the tailor shop. And instead of them going to Nancy's house, the driver took a different route, and he wound up his car window and he increased the speed of the car. At first, it seems like a play. But when the driver took a different path road and continued going despite Nancy's protest, she confronted Victoria about what was happening. It was then Victoria flared up in anger, and she revealed the most shocking thing Nancy never expected. Nancy, do you think I am a fool? I was supposed to win the Best Graduating Student Award,
and be celebrated for once. But no, you defeated me, and instead you were celebrated again. You still went ahead to accept my crush, Benjamin, whom I have been crushing on for years now. And you think I will fold my arms and allow you to continue stealing my happiness? Nancy, this has to stop today, and I am sorry you wouldn't live to tell the story. Victoria, what are you saying? You are my best friend, and I trusted you. You never told me you were crushing on Benjamin. Even when I told you he asked me out, you encouraged me to follow my mindset, and I did. I didn't defeat you to win the Best Student Award. My CGPA gave me that. It wasn't an organized competition. And how would I have known you were contending for it when I don't know your CGPA and you never discussed it with me? As Nancy turned her face towards Victoria, asking her if she could really do this to her, and suddenly the driver blindfolded her eyes with a black fabric, preventing her from knowing the route they had taken. And after 5 minutes, Nancy found herself inside a well-furnished apartment in the middle of nowhere. And the most surprising thing, she heard Victoria interrogating with different voices in the background, concluding her negotiation while she sold her out to the men. And Victoria collected the $9,000 and left. But before she left, Nancy assured her she wouldn't enjoy the money in peace and she would pay for her crime regretfully.
As usual, Capon went inside to freshen up before taking advantage of his victim and then deliver her to his clients, who will then do whatever pleases them. Throughout the drive, Capon didn't have the time to even look at the face of his new victim. His attention was just on how to arrive at his location, finish the deal, and look for another business deal. Meanwhile, at Nancy's house, the pressure has gone higher. The wedding guests have started to arrive. The groom was already around, but the bride, Nancy, had disappeared. Woman, where is your daughter? Where did she go? What sort of embarrassment is this? And her number is switched off. Nancy's father, Mr. Thomas, shouted at Nancy's mother, Amara. She only told me early in the morning that she was going to collect her wedding gown from a tailor shop, and it's already been 4 hours since she left. And she also told me she was going with her friend Victoria to the tailor shop. I have been calling Victoria's number, but her number is also switched off too. I don't know what is happening, and I don't have the tailor's address, Nancy's mother added. It was a total confusion in the celebration ground, and it's becoming obvious that there was something wrong in the bride family. The groom's concernment is becoming noticeable. They has tried Nancy's number multiple times, but it's switched off. And Mr. Thomas doesn't know how to tell the groom family and the rest of the dignitaries and guests that Nancy is missing. He doesn't have the courage, and the embarrassment would be too much. He silently prayed to God not to disgrace him and his family and to bring back Nancy safely for him. And her family, who had suffered to train her in school, was prepared for this big day. But Nancy's sudden disappearance shocked everyone. At where Nancy is detained, Capon freshened up and came to the living room, and he was primed to take action. But as he removed the black cloth from Nancy's face, he had the greatest shock of his life. What? Nancy, what are you doing here? Nancy looked up and the face she saw left her in shock. Obina, is this you? Were you the Capon Victoria was talking to in the car? The one that brought me here? Calm down, I am the one, and it's a long story. Then tell me what went wrong. What exactly happened to you? Nancy asked, her voice shaking. After we graduated, I was falsely accused by a man I worked for. I was arrested, tortured, and spent 1 year in prison, and I lost my mother in the process. I had to retaliate, and since I don't have the means to fight him, I joined this business, and I had taken the man's 2 children already. But I saw myself taking innocent people, which wasn't part of the original plan of joining the business.
But the money that comes from the business seems enticing, and I couldn't resist its urge. But Nancy, you are a good woman. You were kind to me back then at the university. You even paid my last tuition fee and gave me food on a few occasions. I can't do this to you, and I wouldn't have agreed if I knew you were the one. But I realize now, it's not about the people I know. I have to stop the business, especially because of you. Nancy nodded her head but still couldn't believe. Obina was one of the brightest and brilliant students in her class, would turn out to be what she was witnessing, and involved in such a devilish business. How then do you handle the issue with the $9,000 you already gave her as the price for me? Nancy asked. That's not an issue. That's where you will assist me out. I am helping you. You need to help me too. And stand with me and see this through. I will take you to your house for your wedding occasion to continue. But tell your parents that your best friend, Victoria, kidnapped and sold you out. And you have to explain to your parents that a longtime friend played along as a buyer to see if she would really do it. But as soon as she completed the deal, she turned on you, leaving you to be assaulted and prosecuted.
Nancy agreed to the plan, and Capon drove her to her house. When she came down off the car, her appearance agitated the crowd reactions in the occasion. But she quickly went inside and calmed herself down, and she explained to her parents and her husband Benjamin what actually happened and how her male classmate at the university saved her life.
They were dumbfounded, but they can't doubt their daughter. They've known Victoria since childhood, and her friendship with Nancy has been more than 20 years, and they became more like sisters. Nancy had only one friend. Why would she do that? Her mother questioned anxiously. Everywhere seems calm and quiet that day. And they quickly continued with the marriage ceremony. But Nancy's father, Mr. Thomas, wasn't happy at all about the bad occurrence her daughter narrated to him. He called Capon for further questioning and interrogation to confirm Nancy's claim. And when he confirmed it that it was true, he immediately called the divisional police head officer that's in charge of the area. Hello, DPO. We have a serious case to handle. My daughter Nancy was kidnapped this morning on her wedding day, and she was sold out to a ritualist by her best friend, Victoria, who was supposed to be her chief bridesmaid.
And her classmate, Obina, played along as the buyer. And he paid Victoria $9,000. He was the man that brought Nancy's bag home. The wedding has started. But I want you to mobilize your men urgently and get her arrested before she leaves the country, Mr. Thomas explained to the DPO. Don't worry, sir. Just send her home address and her phone number. We will pick her up as soon as possible and the assignment is done, the DPO assured him. And within some minutes, Mr. Thomas sent Victoria's home address and her phone number to the police DPO. And the police officer quickly mobilized his men to track her whereabouts. And when they arrived at where she lived, they raided her entire apartment. They couldn't find her. And they eventually caught her outside of her house, leaving the premises of her residence. And she had already booked her flight, planning of traveling out from the country. And the police quickly handcuffed her hands, and she was arrested with her traveling luggages on her hands, and she was taken into the police custody. It was when Capone visited her at the police station that she knew the game was up. But to her surprise, Capone denied any involvement with her, and with the support of Nancy's father, Capone was free, despite Victoria's claim of how she contacted him and agreed to buy Nancy for $9,000. Capone in the police station said he only played along to see if Victoria really had bad mindset to do such a bad thing to her friend. And he had to tell Nancy he only played along to see who Victoria really was. Later that evening, Nancy joyfully joined together with her husband, Benjamin, and went on to organize a wedding dinner party with influential politicians and business moguls in attendance. The following day, Victoria was charged in court with the right to have a lawyer, and with Nancy's report, the judge found Victoria guilty of attempted murder, human trafficking, and other crimes, and she was sentenced to 20 years imprisonment. As Capone's eyes met with Victoria when she was taken away, he felt a convulsion of guilt. But he couldn't help her, and he believed Nancy's case was a means of redemption for him. Capone changed his name back to Obina, and he concentrated on worshiping God, seeking forgiveness for the crimes he had committed against innocent people, and he was preaching the gospel of God and calling non-believers to faith. Life at the prison wasn't what Victoria foreseen. After refunding the $9,000 to Obina at the court, she was left with nothing. Sitting quietly at her bunk inside the small room in the old prison cell in Lagos, it was like a dream to her how she ended up as a prisoner. Victoria now realized how wrong she was to have invented the idea of selling off her best friend for $9,000 on her wedding day. A friend that believed so much in her and had trusted her with almost everything. I was wrong, she said to herself. How did I become so bitter, trying to destroy my best friend on her biggest day, because of envy? I have wronged myself and Nancy's, and here I am inside the cell with no good food or water, and I am cut off from the outside world. But how did Capone, who suddenly became Obina, turn things around and get me arrested? Why did Nancy's exonerate him in the court? But I know he wouldn't go unpunished. He is involved in this mess and needs to pay for his crime too, he said to himself.
A few months after, Nancy's and her husband Benjamin decided to attend the newly established church in their new area. As they sat inside the church waiting for the pastor, Nancy's was shocked to see Obina as the pastor of the new church. Obina too couldn't resist the shock when he saw Nancy's and her husband, and he stood in the altar amazingly. Let's welcome our new guests to the church, and I have the honor to introduce Madam Nancy and her dear husband, Mr. Jonathan, to our church. Some months ago, when I was following the path of destruction, it was this woman God used to save my soul and bring me back to the path of righteousness. Like myself, and many of you may be trapped in a web of evil and wrongdoing. Brethren in the congregation, listen carefully. From today, if someone has wronged you, exploiting their power or wealth, consider committing the matter to God or seek justice through legal channels. That's the perfect way to retaliate. Although some of you may argue that our justice system favors the wealthy people, I urge you to entrust your case to God, trusting that those who have wronged you, they will someday meet people who are more than them and they will face consequences of their evil. I've witnessed how seeking revenge can lead individuals to a dark path, becoming evil and performing devilish acts. Let's learn how to forgive and resist temptation to become saints in response to harm that we suffer from evil people. In the future, I hope to share my personal experiences publicly without fear of judgment, and I will reveal how God transformed my life through our sister, Madam Nancy. If you are currently entangled in evil, I invite you to reach out to me to acquire more knowledge from my experience. Having walked that path, I understand its dangers, and I am offering my support to help you start a new life. God's plan for us is not condemnation but redemption, he said, praising God and continued with the worship. And Nancy and her husband, enlightened, smiled, praising God for the amazing thing he had done in the life of Obina.
and they saw a group of heavily armed policemen coming into the church. "Nobody move. Remain where you are," Sergeant Ebuka announced as they raided the entire church. What do you think will happen next? Subscribe to our channel to watch part 2 when we upload it.